Shanks stole the Hito Hito no Mi model Nika from the world government with the intent to find Gold Roger's son, Ace, and give him the fruit so that he may become the next Joy Boy. Yes, the Fire Fruit user was in fact originally meant to be the Sun God Fruit user. If that sounds crazy, hear me out, and everything that happened in the first chapter of One Piece, and really everything that Shanks did prior to Romance Dawn, will suddenly make complete sense, as the evidence for this can be seen from across the entire story, and in particular, from the Wano arc itself. But before we get into it, make sure to subscribe, and also subscribe to Grand Line Review and Sensei Inc. because the raid succeeded. And right now, I know you're listening to this video, but what if I told you that you're not listening anywhere near as well as you could be? Because if you're not using Raycon earbuds, you are depriving yourself of the purest audio quality you deserve. Raycon is the sponsor for this video, and their everyday earbuds feel absolutely amazing, and sound even better. With gel tips, they fit perfectly in my ear and don't budge at all, no matter if I'm running, at the gym, reclining, whatever. And the sound is absolutely beautiful because not only can you put them in noise isolation mode to cut off all outside noise and get total immersion, they also have 3 customizable sound profiles. So, with the click of a button, you can switch to pure sound, perfect clarity for audiobooks and podcasts, bass sound if you really want to pump up the bass, and balanced sound if you want to get a full, layered music listening experience. And the best part is, not only are these top-of-the-line earbuds with nearly 50,000 5-star reviews, Raycons aren't ridiculously overpriced like other premium audio brands. It's the same quality as other top-tier brands, but half the price. And actually, for you all, it's even less, because you can get 15% off your Raycons today. Just click the link in the description box or go to buyraycon.com/morge to get 15% off your Raycon purchase. So as I've talked about in past videos, particularly my Marineford analysis, the further we go in the story, the more perspective we've gotten on Ace and who Ace was really set up to be in the grand scheme of things. We obviously view Luffy as the natural choice for who will become Pirate King, but from the perspective of the people of the One Piece world at large, that man was always meant to be Ace. Before Luffy, Ace was the fast-rising pirate that everyone understood was destined to one day stand at the summit of the pirate world. The Marines knew it from the moment they learned that he was Gold Roger's son. Whitebeard knew it and specifically took Ace in and groomed him to become the successor to Roger. The great pirates of the New World knew it, that Ace was the next in line. Really, we, the reader, were the only oblivious ones all along as we followed our own goofy little hero, but over time we've seen that over and over, everyone else had their eyes on Ace to be Pirate King. And now with the Wano arc, we've learned that Ace's own father, Gold Roger, viewed Ace as something even greater beyond that. Who did Roger say the next Joy Boy would be? His son. In fact, Roger's final act was to go out and conceive a son, with the express purpose of birthing the next Joy Boy. Not just the man who would become the next Pirate King, but the man who would bring the dawn of the world, and do what Roger himself could not. Now that leads us to Shanks' actions. Before Roger set off to conceive Ace, he told Shanks something that was hidden from the reader. Then about a decade later, once Shanks has become a great pirate, one of the strongest in the world, already having legendary duels for the title of World's Strongest Swordsman, around this time, Shanks and his crew attack a world government ship, a CP-9 ship, and they steal one of the most important fruits in existence, a fruit the world government has been trying to keep their hands on for centuries, the legendary Nika fruit. The fruit that is by all accounts, Joy Boy's fruit. They steal this fruit and go straight to East Blue. So Shanks, one of the most powerful pirates in the world, very likely already close to Yonko level if not already there, attacks a world government ship, steals maybe the most precious cargo in existence, and travels straight out of the New World, out of the Grand Line, to little old East Blue. And not just anywhere in East Blue, he just so happens to travel to the same island that Roger's son is hidden at, the kid that is explicitly planned and intended to be the next Joy Boy. Shanks shows up at his front door with the legendary Nika fruit that the next Joy Boy needs. Was this all one big coincidence? Well, there are a lot of reasons that point to no, this was Shanks' plan all along, to carry on Roger's will, to find his son who Roger intended to be the next Joy Boy, and to give him the final piece that his son would need to fulfill his role as Joy Boy, the Nika fruit, the Sun God fruit, the rightful inheritance for the man who must bring the dawn of the world. To start with, at this moment in time, we know that after learning of the true history and learning that he did not have long to live, there are 3 particularly important conversations that Roger had with 3 people that were important to him. First, we know that Roger spoke with Garp, his lifelong nemesis in the Marines, who Roger had come to trust like family, and he asked Garp to take care of his son Ace. Second, we know that Roger spoke with Whitebeard, and with Whitebeard, he shared the entire truth of the world and the will of D, and shared so much information in fact, that Whitebeard actually seems to know exactly what the One Piece is, what the will that's being passed down is, and what will happen when the One Piece is found, the battle for the dawn of the world that will ensue, and most importantly, Whitebeard does seem to know who is or isn't supposed to succeed Roger's will. In fact, Whitebeard knows the full true history and had clearly picked out Ace to be the one who will lead the world to the new dawn, and he was quick enough to realize that Ace was Roger's son before the Marines and take him in. So I'm not saying that Roger necessarily told Whitebeard that he's having a son or that he intends for his son to be the next Joy Boy, but Roger very clearly told Whitebeard literally everything else about the true history and the dawn, and Whitebeard very clearly immediately picked out that Roger's son is the right choice to be the next Joy Boy, that he must take in and protect. It is interesting to me that the 2 men who were the greatest former rivals of Roger, Garp and Whitebeard, both of them Roger spoke to before his death, and both ended up sharing this commonality of looking out for Ace and becoming his adoptive guardian figures. And finally, Roger had words for Shanks, who was in his own way Roger's successor and protege, as he is the one that Roger passed the hat on to. Is it possible that Roger also entrusted Shanks with some final secret information, a final will or task that also ended up being related to Ace? Maybe not even a task, but perhaps just letting Shanks know of his intent to father a child that would one day bring the dawn of the world. These 4 pieces on their own seem huge to me. Knowing that Roger's intent was to father the next Joy Boy, knowing Roger left some mysterious final words to Shanks, knowing Shanks specifically attacked the world government ship to steal the Nika fruit that Joy Boy just so happens to need, and knowing that Shanks left the New World to travel all the way to East Blue and just so happened to end up at the specific island that Roger's son and the prospective next Joy Boy were at, with that oh so important Nika fruit in hand that would complete this Joy Boy's destiny. And yet something went wrong, and in a little twist of fate, someone else ate the fruit. This little guy that we ended up accidentally following for 1,000 chapters. And here is where it gets interesting, because this is where it shifts from logical little plot pieces that seem to fit together too conveniently well, such as Shanks' mysterious actions and assumptions we could potentially make from the trend in Roger's conversations he was having in his final days, and the nature of information that he was sharing at this time. Instead, let's look at the character of Ace himself, and what he has come to represent in the story. Because everything about Ace, his entire life story, is essentially framing him as the chosen one that never was, and everything about Luffy's story frames him as the chosen one that was never supposed to be. That is the little brother dynamic that Oda so brilliantly thought to cast this goofy, unlikely main character into. The hero that Destiny chose after the other, more logical path closed. Again, Ace, son of the Pirate King, the one the world government feared above all else, the one destined to sit atop the pirate world, the one that was conceived specifically to be Joy Boy, born to bring the dawn of the world. And before Luffy and all this sun god stuff, it was Ace who was portrayed in the story as the quote-unquote sun, as the brightest hope for the future of the world, being raised by Whitebeard to become Pirate King and play out this destiny. This sun just so happened to run into the darkness that was Blackbeard, and at this particular crossroads of fate that changed everything, the sun was extinguished and the darkness won out. From there, things of course spiraled into the tragedy of Marineford, where the greatest force for good, Whitebeard, and the greatest hope for the future, Ace, were both killed, while the greatest force for evil, Blackbeard, came out the victor, as did the Marines and the world government. But in this tragedy, the world saw a new spark that could potentially carry the hope for the future. Whitebeard saw someone that he could bet the new age on, someone that could carry on the will. Ace passed the torch on to someone who would become the next Pirate King. The Whitebeard pirates realized that there was someone crucial left that they needed to protect, and the Marines saw a great new threat that they must eliminate. It was supposed to be Ace, but it ended up being Luffy. That was the story of Marineford, because that is how Oda has framed the narrative of Luffy and Ace in general. Because even now in the Wano arc, that idea is still playing out. Initially, I didn't understand why Ace was being referenced frequently throughout Wano. I thought it was kind of a cheap attempt to continually name drop and feature a beloved character, but with the revelations this arc that Roger intended Ace to be Joy Boy, then the revelation this arc that Luffy is in fact the true Joy Boy, and seeing Luffy coming into his own as the Sun God and liberating Wano, it all starts to make sense. We begin this arc with a reminder of what Ace was supposed to do, a promise to Tama to come back, and later on we get this declaration from Ace to Yamato that he would one day return to defeat Kaido and liberate Wano. Ace is now dead and gone, but instead we see Luffy coming here and fulfilling everything that Ace was supposed to do. Just as we learn this arc that Ace was meant to be Joy Boy, but Luffy ended up taking that role and responsibility instead. The recurring idea is this repeated surprise switch between Ace, the promised Chosen One, and Luffy, the Chosen One we actually got. That spans across the entire story, from Blackbeard capturing Ace instead of Luffy, to Ace being the initial great hope of the pirate world who died in Marineford while instead Luffy survived, to Ace being the one who promised to come free Wano with Luffy carrying out that will in his stead, to Ace being the one who was born to be Joy Boy but Luffy becoming Joy Boy instead. And yes, that is why I believe that following this trend, if you go all the way back to chapter 1, there is absolutely no way it is a coincidence what happened here. From the very start, the story opens with a scene where it is supposed to be Ace. Shanks traveled across the sea to where he had heard Roger's son would be, the successor to Pirate King, the one born to be Joy Boy, who just needed that final piece, that legendary fruit that Shanks had brought and gift wrapped so that everything could come together. His captain's wish could be fulfilled, his son would eat the fruit, complete his destiny and become Joy Boy, but then this little dummy ate it instead. And for a moment, everything was ruined. And then Shanks had a realization that, you know what, maybe it isn't. Maybe this way is actually better. And again, I've discussed this in my Marineford analysis, but eventually we get to this amazing scene where Shanks and Whitebeard meet. Both of them have learned at least something about the true history and Roger's last wishes, and both of them have their own pick for who will fulfill Roger's will and bring the dawn. And Whitebeard has got the kid that is supposed to do it. He's got the same kid that Shanks very likely was searching for initially, but Shanks is content. He tells Whitebeard that he's made his own bet on the new era. And what do you know? A certain crossroads of fate plays out, and in the end, Whitebeard and Ace both die, whereas Shanks and the unlikely hero that he has bet on live on to maintain hope for the future. So what do you think of that? Was the Nika fruit meant for Ace from the start? And is this whole story built on the best mistake that could have ever happened? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, then like and subscribe, and you can support me on Patreon to get my extended thoughts on this and all future topics. Link in the description below.